All right, today is the Canvas Quick Start. So the first thing that I want to mention is how to access your Canvas courses. Because you might be someone who's in this webinar because it's the first time you're using Canvas. I've gone to canvas.uncc.edu. There's more than one way to get to Canvas. If you want to go through Banner or some of the other portals on the UNC Charlotte website, that's totally fine. This is just the one that I've memorized the most. But I also want to mention that you can log into Canvas through this website, and that this website has a few more resources at the bottom for support, training, and requests. So if that's something you need, this website is a good way to find that as well. I'm going to click the NinerNet login button. And that's going to allow me to log into Canvas. Once I've done that, I'm going to land on what we call the dashboard. I might see some notifications at the top, and when I scroll down, I'll also see some colorful tiles that indicate my dashboard. So these are my various classes that I might have access to, or rather that I do have access to either as a student or an instructor. But this might not be all of the courses that I have access to. To see your full class list, if you click on the book icon on the left where it says courses, at the bottom of that list will be all courses, and that's how you get to your full list of courses that you are either student or trainer or TA or teacher in. I also want to point out my favorite button in Canvas, which is the help button over here. It looks like a question mark. And this has some quick links to the 24/7 support that we purchased through Canvas. So we have the Canvas support hotline and the Canvas chat. Both are 24/7. I want you to be aware that this is all available to your students as well as you, and that it very much is not like calling a credit card company. You are actually going to get a human. You're not going to talk to a machine. I know even chat features these days have a lot of machine answers. That's not going to happen in this case, so don't be afraid to use it. They're really, really fabulous. Once I find the course that I want to access, I'm going to click on it. And this is the course that I'm going to be demoing with today. I want to mention that this particular course I'm demoing with is our Starting with a Fresh Canvas online training. It has all the same information that we cover in our Starting Fresh workshop face-to-face. If you take this webinar and you feel like you need more Canvas information, you want to go further, then this is a great training for you to take. If, again, you have colleagues who say, I need Canvas help, but I need to do it on my own time, or I'm not interested in a webinar, this is also a great place to get information. After this webinar, we will be sending you an email with all of our follow-up information. That includes the link to this particular site and links to all of the how-to guides for what I'm covering today. Today's going to be really quick. It's going to be more of an overview and not every single button, but I want you to be aware that that's okay because the email we're sending you afterward will have the step-by-step instructions of everything that I'm covering today. So don't worry, you're still going to have that information. Today is just more of an overview to make sure that we understand how these tools work and what we're looking for and what we want to do with them. So once I'm in this training, I've landed on what we call the home page. The home page is a page that I've created that is linked up to the home button on the navigation on the left. You don't have to create a home page, but it definitely is very helpful for your students to see that they're in the right place and immediately have information for how to proceed. So for example, you notice I have two buttons on here, and I have instructions below on what each button is for and how you might want to get started. So for your course, you might have the name of your course, who's teaching it, if you're going to meet synchronously online, what time those meetings are going to be at, or any other information. You could attach your syllabus. And definitely you would want to have at least some kind of sentence at the bottom saying, and click here to start the course. Here might be modules on the left. Here might be a button that you've embedded on the page. It doesn't have to be this fancy. The idea of the home page is it's telling the students you're in the right place. Here's how you're going to get started. I want to discuss modules, which is another of the categories in the navigation on the left. Some people like their home button to actually point to modules rather than making a home page. If a home page is a little bit too much for you, this is certainly an acceptable alternative. It's intuitive because students start at the top and work their way down. Again, the home page has its own benefits, but if that's just beyond your time right now, modules is definitely a great place to start. I highly recommend categorizing your modules chronologically. So for example, I have these as Module 1, Module 2. If this was an academic course, I would probably call these Week 1 and Week 2, Week 3, and proceed that way. But however you choose to categorize or title your various modules, the idea here is that the student is clicking on the first item and then proceeding to the next item. The items have been listed in a linear chronological order so that as students are progressing, they know that they're getting the next material at the right time. Whereas if they were to simply click on files on the left, they would see a bunch of files alphabetically, but they wouldn't know which one they need at whatever particular time. Whereas this way, with Module 1, the student knows, oh, everything I need for this module is right here in the same spot. I don't have to go hunting for it. There's a lot of research that shows that if students have to hunt for material, they probably won't find it, and then they won't be as successful. So being able to sort of collect everything as this week we're doing all of this, or this unit we're doing all of this, is really, really helpful for students to keep on track in an online environment. To create a module, in Canvas, you'll consistently notice a plus button every time you're adding something new. So I'm going to hit plus module to add a new module. And then I would simply name the module with whatever title system I've come up with. And once I've added my modules, I'll see them listed here. And within each module will be its own small plus button to add to that module specifically. So if I want to add something to the welcome module, I would hit this small plus. And then it would ask me what kind of item I want to add. If I've already created the items previously, they'll show up and I'll be able to add them immediately. Or if I haven't created my item yet, I can actually create the new item at that time. So just be aware you can make your modules first and then add things, or you can make your categories first and then make your modules second. It really just depends on which method you're more comfortable with. Personally, I like to make my items so that my modules are really fast because I already have everything created. But again, it could be either way. Now, one of the items that exists in my modules is called a page. So if I were to click on Module 1, Getting Started with Canvas, this particular page has some information about what we're going to do in this module. The next item in my module is also a page and also has information that I've directly created in Canvas. The difference between this and a file is that this was something I made in Canvas, whereas a file is something I would have made on my computer, like a Word document or a PowerPoint file. And a file is something I would simply upload to Canvas. The benefit of files is that students can download them and print them, whereas the benefit of pages in Canvas is that you can make things immediately and students don't have to spend time downloading. They can see everything instantaneously. You can do anything you want with a page that you could generally do with a website. So you can put in images, you can put in information or text, and you can even embed videos or other media. So pages are pretty versatile. In order to make a page, I want to be in the Pages category, and I want to look for that plus page button. Again, I'm usually looking for that plus button. Once I'm here, it's going to ask me what the purpose of this page is, and then for me to design the page. This area, the Rich Text Editor, works very similarly to a Word document. So if you've worked in Word before, you're probably familiar with the buttons up here, like bold or center. I just want to mention that that's how this is going to work. I'll be able to type information. I'll be able to embed links or images using the links on the right-hand side. And I can design my page with whatever I need. At the bottom of my page, notice I have three buttons: Cancel, Save and Publish, and Save. Even though Save is the green button, I actually usually say Save and Publish. Canvas is quite particular in that if items are not published, students will not be able to see them. So I typically save and publish because that way it's already available and I don't have to remember to go back and publish later. Obviously, if this page is still majorly under construction, I'll probably only save because it's not ready for students yet. But if it's pretty ready for students, I'm going to go ahead and publish it. You can still edit things that are published, so don't worry about publish locking anything. You'll still be able to edit at any time, but publishing is the piece that actually allows students to access it. If you ever get a bunch of emails from your students saying, we don't see that, we can't find that, it's almost always a red flag that something is not published in Canvas. Speaking of files, if you've already created a lot of content and you just need to upload it and then put it in your modules, clicking on the Files category will allow you to do that. We're going to be using the green Upload button. It's one of the only buttons that doesn't have the plus symbol, but it is up in the same spot that the other ones are. And you simply find whatever file you have on your computer that you need and upload it. One of the most important items that you can make in Canvas are assignments. The assignments area is quite literally your gradebook. A lot of people are tempted to click on grades first, but grades, you'll notice, doesn't have a plus button within it. So we need to make our assignments in assignments. To make a new one, once again, I'm looking for the plus button at the top. And then I'm going to fill out the various fields of information that it wants, such as what the name of this assignment is, and what the instructions to my students are. I can then give it a point value. If I'm grouping assignments together, I can do that. I can decide how I want to display the grade. And if I'm having students turn something in like a rough draft that I don't want the item to gain any points, I could also say don't count towards the final score. The benefit of Canvas assignments is my students can submit their work to me online, so I don't have to keep track of them emailing me all of their papers. My email is crowded enough, I'm sure everybody says these days. So, even if I don't have them turning something in online, be aware that you can also say on paper or no submission if you already have the scores for something. But online is pretty nice because it also allows you then to use the SpeedGrader. You can create group assignments or peer review. If this is something you're interested in, it's beyond the scope of what we're covering in today's webinar. But once again, remember that help button. If you were to call Canvas and say, walk me through creating my group assignment, they would walk you through click by click. And it's really fabulous to have somebody right there in time telling you exactly what to do. Once I've created my assignments, at that point, if I click on grades on the left-hand side, I'm going to be able to see the various assignments that I've created and the various categories that I made. If I'm somebody who already has the scores for my assignment, like perhaps it was a paper test and I already have all the grades, or maybe it's something like presentations where I've written the score down somewhere physically, but they didn't turn something into me online perhaps. To put the scores in here is as simple as clicking on the box and entering what the score is, and then hitting the Enter key to move on to the next student and save the score. Now that's useful for if they did not turn something in online. But if they did turn in to me online, then I need to access what they turned in to me as well as grade it. When I go directly to the assignment, I'll notice a link on the right called SpeedGrader. Be aware if you haven't published your item, you won't see SpeedGrader show up. And when I click on the SpeedGrader, it's going to take me to a window where I'm able to see my students' work as well as provide comments and give them their grade. If it's a written piece of work, like a file, like a Word document, like a paper, or even if it's something like a PowerPoint that has text in it, you'll also see some track changes buttons appear. So you'll be able to leave very specific feedback to your students in the SpeedGrader. All of the grades that you submit through the SpeedGrader will appear in the gradebook in Grades. Also, if you've created an assignment and you wish to attach a rubric to it, you'll notice that once the assignment is created, we do have a plus rubric button, and you'll be able to do that. Now I want to mention that my categories here in my navigation are actually pretty limited. I know that students can't see some of these because it has a small eyeball icon with a flash through it. So that means that this isn't visible to students. And I've disabled a lot of these to students because I'm either not using them or I don't want students to see them. So for example, files and pages are organized alphabetically, but we said we want our students to see things chronologically. So I've hidden those categories from students because anything they need, they're going to see through the modules. I want modules to be the place where students access all of their material. In order to edit this list in navigation, we go to Settings. And at the top, there will be a tab called Navigation. I've limited my navigation pretty severely because this is training as opposed to an academic course. But if you're teaching an academic course, you'll probably have more of the categories below. For those of you who are interested in WebEx for synchronous class meetings and are potentially coming to one of those workshops in the future, or sorry, webinars in the future, this is, by the way, where you would enable WebEx. It is appearing here and does have to be enabled. You can enable by either clicking on the dots and telling it to enable, or by dragging and dropping. Either way is fine. The rule of thumb essentially is you want students to have access to the things that they're using and to hide anything that either will confuse students or something that you're not using. So for example, if I'm not using quizzes because I haven't made any, then perhaps I want to hide that because I don't want students clicking on a button that says quizzes and when they see it's empty, I don't want them to be confused and then email me saying, where are my quizzes? Well, there aren't any. I didn't make any. So I'm just going to hide that category so there's not places for students to click and then get lost in my course. I want everything to be nice and tight. Once, by the way, you've enabled your various categories that you want, you do have to hit the Save button to make sure that it saves. We mentioned, by the way, that home could be either the list of modules or a home page. For making a home page, you would have created the page in Pages. And then here on Home, there's a button called Choose Home Page. And that's the button that's going to allow you to select where you want home to point to. There's also a very useful button over here called Student View. Student View will allow you to see the course as a student would see it. So if you're concerned about things being still unpublished that you might not have taught, if you go into Student View, it'll be pretty quickly obvious what you can and cannot see. So it's a good way to check certain things. In Student View, you can also take your own tests or try out your own assignments and then grade yourself. So it's a really great way to practice. And one of the most important buttons on here is the Course Status button on publishing your course. If you have not published your entire course, your students will not be able to access it. Even though we've published all the individual items like the pages and the files and the assignments, if I haven't published the course, it won't show on the student's dashboard. So they won't know that it's there. Make sure that once your course is ready for students that you publish it. If for any reason you need to publish your course quickly, but you're still working on it and you want to make sure that students at least have the next week or two worth of materials, one of the things you could do is publish the course, but not publish all of your modules. Your modules have a publish setting as well as your individual items. Unpublishing is as easy as clicking on the little green check mark. Publishing something is as easy as clicking back on it and having the green check mark appear. So I know all of this is published because I'm seeing all green check marks as I move down. If I don't want students to access this module because I'm still working on it, I could keep it unpublished. And even though these items are published, students actually won't be able to get to them because they are in a module that is unpublished. So just be aware that if these are published but not the module, students still won't be able to access it. I need to make sure everything is published if I want my students to get to it. And that's such a very tiny little check mark that, trust me, forgetting to publish your modules is probably the most common call that I think a lot of people get. Don't worry though, again, it's really quick. All you have to do is click on it. Oh, now it's taken care of. I do also want to mention that if you have any time. I know there's a lot of people that are asking for individualized assistance. We're not able to give individual consults at this time simply because, unfortunately, there's 8 of us and thousands of faculty. But if you put in a help ticket, we're going to send you as many materials as we can and make sure that you're getting help as